G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you've been keeping well and I hope you've been having a good time exploring cocktails. Great way to relieve tension. Not prescribing consuming alcohol as a solution to stress, because it might seem like it's short term, but longer time it just creates its own problems. But in controlled ways, recreationally, as you can tell, I'm all in favour of it. And another little idea for you that you might not have seen before, another variation, a colour variation of a well-known classic cocktail. Tonight for me, I'm going to make a green Negroni. Now, Negroni is one of the most popular cocktails in the world at the moment. I'd have to say, not so much for me, because the base of a Negroni, which is your Campari or some other bitter red aperitif, but Campari is the main one people use, it's just too bitter for me. I've tried it so many ways, I've had it made in so many different venues, because I thought maybe there's just something wrong with me, maybe I need to find the right Negroni. No, it's actually simply too bitter for my palate. And so if I make a Negroni, I need to make substitutions. And I also think you shouldn't be scared to make substitutions. So I'll never order a Negroni when I'm out because it's always going to be too bitter for me. But at home, you can improvise and make substitutions. And I was quite interested when I saw this recipe for a green Negroni because it's got quite a few substitutions in there. And instead of the red bitter aperitif, because obviously couldn't make that green, they suggest a blanco, white bitter aperitif, which A, I don't have, B, I've never even actually seen in a shop. I'm sure it exists because it's on this ingredient list, but I don't have it, so I'm going to be doing some improvising and also catering to my palate. And I'm subbing in an Australian liqueur called Ochre Gold. It's probably closest to, say, yellow chartreuse, so it's slightly bitter, it's herbal, it's a great flavour, and I use it in a lot of drinks, subbing out for other ingredients that I either don't have or don't particularly like. That's what I'll be using, along with some other ingredients that are much easier to get. So without further ado, let's get started on a green Negroni. First up in the green Negroni, like a classic Negroni, is gin. It's usually recommended to use a dry gin, but whatever you have, whatever you like. I am choosing to use an Australian gin made by Applewood. Their limited edition finger lime gin. It's a rather citrus forward one, as the name somewhat gives away. And I think it probably doesn't really classify as a dry gin, but I don't mind so much. It's a good gin, and that's what you should put in the drink, one that you enjoy drinking. And like classic Negroni, the key components of this green Negroni are in the same proportions, 3/4 of an ounce. So we're starting off with 3/4 of an ounce of gin going in the green Negroni. Now it's time for our bitter component, 3/4 of an ounce again. As I said, I'm playing to my palate and using Ochre Gold, which is nowhere near as bitter as the recommended Blanco bitter aperitif. But again, as I say, do it to your taste, not what someone else says. I use the recipes as a guideline. If I can follow them, I do, but I'm never shy about changing. So I'll be doing 3/4 of an ounce of Ochre Gold for my bitter element in this Negroni. The third component is Bianco Vermouth. I'm using another Australian product. This one's called Regal Rogue's Lively White. And once again, it's 3/4 of an ounce of our vermouth going into the green Negroni. Now, here's where we start to seriously diverge from a classical Negroni, because we need the green in our green Negroni. And the first green element is green chartreuse. It's recommended 1/3 of an ounce. So that's 10 mils of the green chartreuse. And this is just the beginning of our green. So measuring out, 10 mils, 1/3 of an ounce of green chartreuse. Now we're getting really green. Green melon liqueur, doing half an ounce. I'm using Midori. It's one of the better known brands, I guess. It's a Japanese green melon liqueur, but it's not necessarily what you can get hold of. So whatever is your brand of choice, we are going to add half an ounce, 15 mils of green melon liqueur. You could build this cocktail right in the glass with ice and drink it straight up. I've chosen to do it in a mixing glass. A few chunks of ice in here, stir it 10 or 15 seconds just to get it nice and cold, and there'll be a little bit of dilution. But there's some strong flavors in here, so a little dilution is not going to hurt us. And now I'm just going to strain with the Hawthorn Strainer. I'm using a rocks glass. You could use whatever you have on hand, but I happen to have prepared this one with some clear ice I made. Looking very beautiful in there. I keep promising to make a video showing how I made the clear ice because it's really quite easy, and I will do that soon. But that is a beautiful color, the green Negroni. And now for the taste test, I go. Then you've got a very light aroma. There's the herbal element from the chartreuse, and I feel like I could smell the melon liqueur as well. But as for taste, that's got some really strong flavors in there. It's really good. As I said, I've done it to my tastes, so this is not particularly bitter. But if you are a fan of the more bitter drinks and you can get your hands on some Blanco bitter aperitif, go with that by all means. But yeah, I've gone slightly less bitter with the Ochre Gold. Like I said, it's kind of like yellow chartreuse. So this has got very strong herbal elements in this. It's interesting, the green melon, which is often a very strong flavor, it's in there, but it hasn't overpowered the herbal elements or the gin in there. So there's a really nice balance, and it's a bit of fun to have it. Who doesn't like a green drink or a blue drink occasionally? You can get a bit too serious with making cocktails, I think. So yeah, things like blue curacao and Midori green melon get a bad rap, but you can use them really well. And this is one example of where it does work really well, and it is not simply a one-note drink. There is a lot going on there. This is a really tasty drink. Like I said, your classic Negroni, simply not for me. But this one, where I've toned down the bitter elements and upped the herbal elements, I guess, which is not really what a Negroni is, but this was all about variations this week. And I thought a green Negroni would be a fun one. I hope that you did like the look of that. I'd be very interested if you try this yourself. Let me know in the comments if you have ever had a green Negroni, or if there's another variation that you like. And hey, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, it would be great if you subscribed. Maybe tell your friends, tell them they should be tuning in as well. I'm going to leave you now. I will be, of course, making more videos coming up, possibly with another theme for next week. I'm quite enjoying doing theme weeks. We'll see what comes up for next week. Or either way, whether it's with themes or standalone videos, we'll be sharing a couple more cocktails with you then. I hope you can join me. I'll say bye for now, and cheers.